Hello everyone, I am Sword Caliburn 687, and today I would talk about Infinite From Forces. If you guys really want to support this video, smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's begin the video. I was looking over Infinite's concept art, and I found out about something about Infinite that nobody else talks about. With Infinite's concept art, there is a lot of missed potential with his character that is not in Forces. One of Infinite's first designs, he was originally supposed to be a ghost. With Infinite's first design, I don't think that the Phantom Ruby existed, but it was all Infinite's abilities. I would give this version of Infinite a name. I would call him Phantom the Ghost. The second part of Infinite's concept art, he was originally supposed to be an Oni. Oni in Japanese means demon or ogre. Onis can be demons or yokai in Japanese folklore, and what a yokai is, it is pretty much like a spirit or a ghost in Japan. What do Onis represent in Japanese folklore? They represent the worst aspects of humanity and hates humanity. Onis consume humans and they're really evil monsters. Why Infinite is an Oni? It is important, all because it is tied to Sonic Lost World. I would tell you guys all the Deadly Six in Sonic Lost World are all Onis. Why a lot of Sonic fans wouldn't recognize this? All because Sonic Lost World had a cartoony art style. Onis doesn't have to be two-horned monsters. There are some that has many horns, and some that has no horns. There are some Onis that don't look like monsters, and some that look humanoid. For any anime fans that watch Demon Slayers demons are based on Onis. The Demon Slayer's Onis gets killed in sunlight, and it is not accurate to the folklore. Demon Slayer has changed some of the lore on their own versions of Onis, but they keep the whole idea of Onis intact. The Deadly Six looks like ripoffs from Monsters, Inc. or even Pokemon. This makes me wonder what the heck happened to Sonic Forces' story, and why the game is like this. I think that Sonic Forces was going to be Sonic Lost World 2, and because Sonic Lost World didn't sold that well, it was a flop. I think the reason why Sonic Forces' story is rushed, all because the game ran out of budget. I think that Sonic Boom and Sonic Lost World were the reasons why Sega didn't give Sonic Team enough budget for Forces. Since both of these games lost a lot of money for Sega must have cut the budget for Forces. Sonic Lost World only sold like 700,000 copies, while Rise of Lyric and Shattered Crystal, they only sold like 600,000 copies. The Sonic Boom TV show and the marketing aspect was a failure, so Sega probably had no choice but to cut the budget from Forces. I know that there's some people that like the Sonic Boom TV show, but after season 1, the show didn't do that well in ratings. Sega wanted Sonic Boom Sonic to be American Sonic, and because that flopped, it didn't do well. Sega probably did cut the budget for Forces, and Forces development, it must have been a nightmare for Sonic Team. If Sonic Boom did that well, Sonic Forces would not turned into a bad game. Man, this makes me wonder if there are concept arts of Sonic Lost World 2, but that is a mystery. Let's get back on talking about Infinite's concept art with the Deadly Six. The reason why I think that Zavok talked out of any Infinite illusions, it is probably because in the older script, that was actually Zavok. The Deadly Six was probably going to be the Deadly Seven, but that probably got changed. If you compare Infinite's older design compared to the Deadly Six, it does look similar. The Deadly Six and Infinite's older design, they both have stripe patterns. Infinite Stripes does look a bit chaotic, and I think that is the point. Maybe Infinite's chaotic stripes does signify that he is stronger than the Deadly Six, or more powerful. The third design of Infinite that I would talk about, it would be his bull design. What's the bull design of Infinite is based on? He is based on the Egyptian god Apis. Apis is the Egyptian god that represents strength, harvest, and life and death. The Apis god, or the Apis secret bull, it is a servant of Patal and the Egyptian god Osiris. Platal is the creator of life and the creator of the universe. Historians believe that Patal predates all the Egyptian gods and even the Egyptian god Ra. It is believed by some historians that Patal might have existed in the first Egyptian dynasty and might have been the first Egyptian god. Osiris is the Egyptian god of the afterlife and the Egyptian god of rebirth. Both of these gods are represented by the symbol of the bull, and it does look cool. In Egyptian mythology, once a bull dies, they get reincarnated. The Apis bull is believed to be the protector of the underworld and guides souls into the afterlife. This would make sense since Apis is a servant of Osiris, and it is really awesome. The other parts of Infinite's concept art that I would talk about, it would be his jackal design. The character that I think that Infinite's design is based on, he is based on Beerus. I think that one of Infinite's design is based on Beerus, and Sega wanted to have the same impact like Beerus. Think about it like this: a character that is more powerful than the main character, and then beats the main character. Beerus has defeated Goku in his Super Saiyan form, and then the Phantom Ruby separates classic Sonic from his Super transformation. This powerful character sees the other character as a nuisance, and easily toys with them. Infinite's personality is not Beerus, but I think that's a character that's easily toys with the main character, all because that character isn't strong enough to beat that character. Infinite could have worked. If Infinite negated Super Sonic, one of Sonic's strongest transformations, Infinite could have been a cool character. Sega didn't want the Beerus inspiration for Infinite's character design to be obvious, so they based it on other things. I would ask you guys this: do you know why Infinite is a jackal? And I would tell you. Infinite's design, he is based on the Egyptian god Anubis. Anubis is the Egyptian god of mummification, and the protector of the tombs of the pharaoh, and the protector of the afterlife. Anubis has an ability that can judge somebody's soul by a scale, and if the soul's not worthy, this would happen. If the soul weighs heavier than a feather, it would be eaten by a myth, which is a crocodile Egyptian god. It would make sense why Infinite is judging you as a character, and if he has a judgment ability, it would be awesome. What all of these concept arts tell me about Infinite? A lot of these deities, monsters, or spirits are associated with the afterlife. A lot of these monsters, deities, and spirits, they're not real and they're folklore. A definition of a phantom can mean a ghost, but there is another meaning for a phantom. The other meaning of a phantom is the figment of the imagination. Let me read you the Merriam-Webster's dictionary of a phantom. A representation of something abstract, ideal, or incorporeal. A lot of psychologists say that dreams are abstract in the human mind. The interpretation of somebody's dream or somebody's mind, it can be different depending on the person. I know you guys are wondering, Sword Caliburn 687, how does this connect to Infinite? If you piece together Infinite's concept, art, and dialogue, Infinite isn't real. What if I told you that Infinite's jackal form isn't the real Infinite? What if I told you that this Phantom Ruby is the real Infinite? There is a dialogue in Sonic Forces that Sega forgot to cut out, and it is the dialogue with Tails. Tails says that Eggman created Infinite, and this dialogue is the same from the Japanese version of Sonic Forces. With the dialogue that Tails says in Sonic Forces, it would sound like that Infinite's a robot, but it is not the case. If you look at the concept art of Eggman's lab, Eggman has a bunch of Phantom Rubies. If you look at Eggman's computer screen, you see the picture of Infinite, and his whole body is see-through. Re-looking at this scene, this is supposed to be a foreshadow of who Infinite is. When Sonic and the custom character defeats Infinite, his whole body starts to disappear. And what happens when you fight all the illusions in Sonic Forces? They disappear. One of the themes of Sonic Forces, it is bringing your imagination to life, and it does make sense. Even though a dream can't feel real, it could feel real in your heart. We all wish that dreams were real, but once we wake up, the dream is gone and over. I think that the Phantom Ruby being more involved with Sonic's friends, it was probably cut out in Forces. Sonic's friends using the Phantom Ruby, it would probably make sense how they got an army and a lot of spaceships. Infinite and the custom character are supposed to mirror each other, all because they're imaginations of the Sonic characters. I found this scene of classic Sonic disappearing kinda odd, but I think that was originally supposed to be your custom character. This was a forgotten old concept of Sonic Forces, all because it was cut out, and it does make sense. The avatar is supposed to be parts of your creation, and Sonic Team wanted that to be canon. If you look at the original trailer with your custom character, it is you creating your character. Maybe Sega wanted to do a Sonic game like Splatoon or Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but it was forced into Forces. Sonic Forces was created all because a lot of members of Sonic Team had seen Sonic fan art. Aaron Weber says in an interview that Sonic Team noticed a lot of Sonic fan characters and wants to incorporate them into the games. I would play a small clip from the interview with Sonic Forces Customization Explained, and it's from GameSpot.
It can be pretty fun watching your character run around. Yeah,
that's great. So I mean, was it the right time now? You were just like, the fans want it, and we're in a place where it makes sense to make it, to include this as an option?
Yeah, and I think Sonic Team had been kind of mulling this over for some time and kind of wanting to include something like this. And the opportunity came up, and with the next gen hardware, it made a lot of sense to kind of add this in and to see what people thought. And based on the reaction we've seen so far, there's a lot of very excited people, but I think the cool thing about it really is that you don't have to necessarily be what I would call a super fan to appreciate the character creator. You don't have to be the person, on DeviantArt posting your fan art every day to like it. You can take it seriously. You can just be really silly with it. It's totally up to you.
Yeah.
With the idea of incorporating dreams and your imagination into a game, that is not new for Sonic Team, all because they worked on Nights. The custom character is created from the good thoughts of the player that's created them, while Infinite, he is created from the bad thoughts of Eggman wanting to get revenge from Sonic and friends. And Infinite is nothing more than Eggman's hatred for Sonic and friends, and his malice. I might be wrong in my theory that the custom character in Infinite might be linked, but it is fun to speculate. I know you guys are wondering, Sword Caliburn 687, isn't the Phantom Ruby first showed up in Sonic Mania? What if I told you that the Phantom Ruby wasn't supposed to be in Sonic Mania? Remember what I said earlier in the video, that this game took way longer to develop, more than Sonic Mania. The reason why I think that Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces have some connectedness in the stories, it is from the complaints from the Colors era of Sonic games. A lot of Sonic fans hated the stories for these games, like Sonic Colors, Sonic Lost World, and Sonic Generations. The biggest complaints is that the games didn't have a continuity between the games, and the stories were bad. Majority of Sonic fans has called the Colors era of Sonic games the meta era. And for a marketing perspective in Sonic Forces and Sonic Mania, Sega probably thought that they can make a lot of money for marketing both games. If Infinite's the Phantom Ruby and Sega was trying to do a connected tissue with Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces, why Sega didn't do this version of Infinite? A lot of the things that are tied with Infinite's concept art, it is tied to Shinto. Shinto is the belief and the way of the kami. A lot of people would think about the character Kami from Dragon Ball Z, or the definition means spirit or god, but that is not the case. A kami could be a god, a natural disaster, a phenomenon, or even an object. In the Japanese culture, there is multiple meanings of a kami, and it's not defined by one term. The whole idea of Shinto, it is the belief and the respect of the kami. Kamis are living beings, objects, or things that are a representation of your environment, nature, or the world. The whole entire idea of Shinto, it is about living in harmony with your environment, nature, and the world. This is why in Shinto anything could be a kami, all because kamis are representations on how much you treat things in your environment. Even though an object or a natural disaster won't be considered alive in Shinto, it would be treated like it was alive. What would happen if you treat a kami bad? They would be vengeful towards you and even try to curse you. This is why in Shinto you have to be honorable and appreciate kami so that you can live a positive existence with the world around you and your environment. A perfect example of a series that has Shinto themes to them, it is Avatar: The Last Airbender with the spirits. The classic Sonic games, or even the modern Sonic games, has a lot of Shinto themes to them. You can interpret Light Gaia, Dark Gaia, Chaos, or even Solaris would be all considered kamis. Even all of Infinite's concept art would even count as kamis. With Infinite being the Phantom Ruby, it could be possible, all because of Sonic Team's original idea for the Ruby. Sonic Team and Sega wanted to create a magical gem that can rival the Chaos Emerald's power, which is a cool idea. The Phantom Ruby does have certain abilities that the Chaos Emeralds can't do. The type of kami I think that Infinite is based on, he is based on a Tsukunogami. What a Tsukunogami is, it is a tool kami or an artifact kami. These kamis are created based on how much you treat objects in your environment. If these objects are over 100 years old, they would come to life, and it is really cool. An appearance of a Tsukunogami, it is based on how much you treat it. If you treat it poorly, it would appear vengeful and hates its owner. Infinite's bowl design shows that the Phantom Ruby has hooks, and it's hovering in the air. There is a game that already made a gem a kami, which is Tales of Vesperia. In the Tales of Vesperia, there are gem-like creatures called Entelecheia, and they represent nature. Now the dialogue with Sonic's friends would make sense. Since Eggman created the Phantom Ruby, he created Infinite in a sad and lonely environment, and Infinite is a sad character. Maybe because Eggman created Infinite in a harsh environment and treats him poorly, Infinite does have some parallels like a Tsukunogami. Why I think that Sega scrapped Infinite being a Tsukunogami, all because it might be too complicated for us Westerners to understand. The whole reason why the stories for the meta era are created in the first place, it is to get rid of some of the Japanese elements within Sonic. There were some Sonic fans that complained that the Dark Age era of Sonic games had bad stories, and the stories were too complex. I think that Sega took those fan complaints to heart, and what we got was storytelling from the meta era. I think that Sega removing elements of Infinite being a Tsukunogami, it could be possible, all because Sega has already created another character that is like a Tsukunogami. The other Sonic character that is like a Tsukunogami that I am talking about, it is Solaris. For anyone that played through the ending of Sonic 06, Soloris' real form, it is a candle. There were so many Sonic fans that played Sonic 06 in 2006 and hates this ending. Lots of Sonic fans that played Sonic 06, they hate the idea that Soloris was a candle, but if you understand Shinto, it starts to make sense. Infinite's character is better received in Japan than the West, all because Japan loves dark and edgy characters. I think that Sonic Team wanted to have more of a Japanese audience for Forces. Sonic in Japan is not as popular as Mario. What Sega wanted from Forces, it is to gain more of a Japanese audience. I would ask you guys this. Do you know why the game is called Sonic Forces? And I would tell you. Some of you guys heard of Super Sentai. It is the actual Power Rangers of Japan. When Super Sentai was brought over to the West, it was changed for American audiences. The changed Americanized version of Super Sentai, it is obviously Power Rangers. What does Sentai mean? It means task force, squadron, or group. I would imagine that Sonic Force's name in Japan, it would probably be called Sonic Sentai. I think that I might be right, all because the Japanese announcer for Sonic Forces had called this game Sonic Force. The Super Sentai series, it is really popular in Japan, and it has a lot of shonen elements. The Super Sentai series has so many continuations and spin-offs, which is very cool. The characters in Super Sentai has to work together to overcome the odds, and it always teaches kids the value of friendship. And Sonic Forces does have a similar theme to Super Sentai. This could be a coincidence, but I think this is intentional. Infinite's helmet, it is inspired off of Super Sentai. If you look at any of the dark counterparts of the Rangers, or rival Rangers, it does have some similarities to Infinite. Some Sonic fans joked about Sonic Frontiers dropping the original title for the game, which is Sonic Rangers. The funny thing is, Sonic Forces is Sonic Rangers. Another reason why I think that Sega scrapped Infinite being the Phantom Ruby, it has to tie in with the Forces comic books. Ian Flynn is a very popular writer within Sonic. He did the Archie comic books and the IDW comic books. Ian Flynn did do some of the writing for Sonic Boom Season 2, and I think that Sega noticed. A lot of Sonic fans wanted Ian Flynn to write some of the stories for the Sonic games, and that's what happened. I think that Ian Flynn's first start was trying to do a cross-promotion with the Sonic Forces comic book, but I don't think he wrote the game. Ian Flynn did wrote this version of Infinite from the Sonic Forces comic book, and that's it. There is no evidence to prove that Ian Flynn wrote this version of Infinite from the game version of Sonic Forces. I think that Sega liked this version of Infinite without the mask and wants to incorporate this version of Infinite into the Sonic games. There were some rumors going on that Ian Flynn wrote this version of Infinite from the Sonic Forces game, but I don't think it is the case. Ian Flynn might have given Sonic Team and Sega notes on how to write Infinite's backstory, and that is it. This is my personal opinion why Sonic Forces' story is rushed, all because it is. I don't think that anyone would have saved Sonic Forces' story, not even Ian Flynn. Infinite could have been a good villain if he had better character development from Sega and Sonic Team, but he didn't. Sonic Forces' story is doomed from the start, and Sonic Team was rushed into writing a story. Like, for example, there is another Sonic character that Infinite is based on, and you can probably guess what Sonic character. The Sonic character that Infinite is based on, he is based on Shadow. The similarities and parallels between both characters, there is no coincidence. Let's compare Shadow to the older concept art of Infinite. Both characters are created by their creators, and fundamentally gets used by their creators. Dr. Eggman both clones Infinite and Shadow. Eggman cloning Infinite, it is in the older version of Sonic Forces' script, and it does have a lot of parallels with Shadow. Sonic Forces was trying to do a lot of parallels with Infinite and Shadow from Sonic Adventure 2, and this is intentional. If you look at Shadow's concept art, which is Terios, Terios does have some similarities to Infinite. And what does Terios mean in Greek? It does mean making dreams come true. Both characters have darker character designs, and both have a scar. One of the writers that worked on Sonic Forces, I hope I don't pronounce his name wrong. I am sorry if I do. His name is Itaro Toyoda. Itaro Toyoda worked on the early 2000 Sonic games and Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Forces was trying to replicate the early 2000 Sonic games, and it failed miserably. Sonic Forces' story borrows a lot of ideas from Star Wars, and the Sonic content creator that figured this out, it is Pariah. Pariah does really good Sonic videos, and he talks about the Japanese interpretation of Sonic. I would recommend you guys to watch his videos, all because they really are good. Pariah breaks down Sonic Forces' story, and he says that it is a ripoff of Star Wars, and it is hilarious. Sonic is Princess Leia / Obi-Wan, while Infinite is Darth Vader. Even some of the levels in Sonic Forces, it is inspired off of Star Wars. You have the main character starting off in a desert location, and then gets captured by the Empire. The Rebel Alliance / Resistance is fighting against the Empire, and is losing. The citizens of the galaxy or the world is losing hope until there is a new hero to save it. Who is this main character that would save the world or the galaxy? This new hero is Luke Skywalker, the custom character. This plot is Star Wars: A New Hope through Return of the Jedi. The prototype name of Sonic Forces, it was supposed to be called Sonic Wars. Metropolis in Sonic Forces, it is inspired off of Eldoron. The reason why the egg pawns are white, it is a reference to the Stormtroopers. Geesh, Sega, you should stop making the plot feel like a ripoff of Star Wars. Now I know why Infinite feels inconsistent as a character. all because he is. It is not Infinite being inconsistent as a character, but Sonic Forces being inconsistent. Infinite has an inconsistent origin in the Sonic Forces game and in the comic book. There is no consistent direction of what Sonic Team wanted Infinite to be, and because Infinite has no direction of what the character would be, he feels like a mess of a character. This game feels rushed and forced. Get it, Sonic Forces? Even though Infinite feels inconsistent as a character, there is a lot of Sonic fans that want him to be redeemed. There is some Sonic fans that want Sonic Forces to be remade and Infinite to be improved as a character. I hope that Sonic Team fixes Infinite's character and brings him back in future Sonic games. I don't have anything else to say about Infinite's character design. Let's just end the video. Thank you for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, but also leave a comment below if you guys really want to see more of my content. Anyway, see you guys soon.